Alrighty, here we are. Hello, everybody. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about Scottish independence, Indie Ref 2. But obviously, to say one thing before I get started is to obviously realize we are in a pretty serious time right now, and obviously Scottish independence isn't a front burner issue just at the moment. But the fact of the matter is, we're going to have lots and lots of time to sit around and watch, observe, and think about our politicians and how we feel about the kind of job they're doing, because we're not just going to be so as busy with the hustle and bustle of life as we used to be. So that's going to be something that's just going to be kind of a natural byproduct of this situation. So to expect that this issue is just going to go away because of COVID-19, I think is really wishful thinking on some people's part. So anyways, any thoughts on that there, Ms. Sharon Sunshine? Happy to have you with us, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Happy to be here. Yeah, no, I'm absolutely 100% what you're saying. We're not jumping about crazy for independence. It's like, let's get on top of this, but certainly we'll all have plenty of time for delving into all these articles that we've all wanted to read, but maybe not had the time to, so.
Yeah, we definitely got the time to observe, folks.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people will be doing. So
exactly.
And folks, I hope not just in Scotland and in the UK, but I hope everybody around the world will take this time to evaluate your politicians and decide, instead of getting in fights with the other political side on Facebook, start thinking about what you want from them and start deciding what you want from your leaders. And when we come out of Corona, let's, start working towards utopia instead of disarray, as it seems we might have been headed in some ways. So I don't know. But anyways, everybody sober up and let's hold our leaders to account when this is done. So pay attention, because this is gonna test them.
Yeah.
All of them. This is gonna be a test for them. We're gonna see who can hack and who can't. So anyway. So getting to who can hack. Now that I said that, let's talk about Alex Salmond, because that dude can hack. That guy has got the tools. He's got the right attitude. I like him. Just watching his little press conference after he was basically cleared of all charges today. His concerns were for the people. He obviously knew people were curious about some things about him, and he was alluding to the fact that he will be making certain things clear that didn't come out in the court proceedings yet here, but he will be making those things clear at some point. But he was making it very clear that now is not the time, because right now it's up to everybody to do what they need to do to stop and stem the spread of COVID-19. So he was basically saying at some point in the future, we will then look into that. But right now, what's important? So he's a classy guy, and he's putting his priorities in order. Even though, what do you think, Sharon? He just comes off of being accused of basically trying to force himself on 14 counts, was it? 14 women?
9 women, but 14 counts. One was dropped.
One was dropped.
One was dropped.
Reading that.
But it wasn't. One was dropped, and it was like.
And one was as Paul liked to point out over on my other channel, it was a not proven.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
One of them.
Not proven. But.
And then 12, he was completely cleared, not guilty.
Yeah. Not guilty. That's what I was trying to think. I was thinking of. I had that list in my head, and I was trying to see it, and I was going, right, let's see this list. But yeah, not proven. That doesn't mean. Everyone in America,
if they find some substantial proof later,
exactly,
they can revisit it. But as of right now, he's an innocent man.
I'm not sure if in Scotland they can. I'm not sure.
Let's give Mr.
Capaldi. Actually, yeah.
Mr. Capaldi's still awake, because man. Or let's go watch one of the old
videos
where he wouldn't shut up about it.
Yeah. Anyways, no. Well, it was pretty hefty charges that they were trying to throw at him, but the fact that it was like they were saying it was going to be the trial of the trying to make out it was the trial of the century. The newspapers had pictures of him beside serial killers showing who this trying to make out as if he was like not Jack the Ripper, the Yorkshire Ripper. Like there's lots of really horrible killers that have been in Britain, and they had his picture up there. You know, like all the.
I mean, is he even up? I mean, was one of the charges murder? Why would they be put? That's clearly
they're trying to make him. Yeah,
that's obviously somebody with an agenda putting his face next to those faces. Yeah,
they had to retract it, and because there was so much hoo-ha about that everybody just kind of went nuts.
I mean, that's bold.
They said they weren't trying to suggest anything, but putting him up beside maybe, I don't know, something like 8 killers read about him and his picture up there. So trials.
Right. Yeah. So to get back to what I was initially stating, I mean, to see him come out there and be that classy after facing of 9 accusers, bringing 14 counts against him, and beats them all of the counts, boom, gone. Exactly. So it's like, I mean, number one, you'd think he would come out of there maybe feeling a little bit bitter because a certain amount of his life has just been wasted because some people falsely accused him.
2 years.
2 years of his life.
And he's 65. It's not as if.
And that's some people with an agenda have effectively robbed him of 2 years of being the person that he is. He's obviously had to live a different lifestyle while he's been dealing with this. So I mean, for me, he could have easily come out there and been somewhat bitter. I wouldn't have held it against him very much because kind of has a right to be a little bitter about it personally, but he's not. He's a classy guy.
He's a classy guy that wouldn't. I don't think he would give anyone the pleasure of seeing him being bitter. There's no way. He's such a pro when it comes to, the media and the way that they manipulate things. He's such a pro that there's no way, So, I mean, he could have been as bitter as anything. I mean, even looking at, we saw him the morning of the 19th of September, the morning after the last independence referendum. Right. And the man was absolutely shattered. Sure. So seeing him that day, and then seeing him even when he was first at the court and all that, I mean, he wasn't even as shattered when he was going to the court as he was the day after the independence, because he'd put everything into it for like so long. It was his long game, so I mean, he is a proper classy guy. There's you
guys need to keep him healthy.
Yeah.
You guys need to make sure Corona doesn't get him.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Because when you come out of Corona, you're going to have him and Nicola back at full power. And
well, see,
if he decides to jump back into the arena.
Well, I'm not sure whether he will. Because I
think he'll still be talking.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's hard to shut him up, because even like after he left, and he stepped down from being First Minister, and, it was great that he, Nicola was able to shine, and and he was a fantastic mentor to her from when she was like really, a teenager, late teenager, and she was in the party from like, I think she was like 16 or something like that, but obviously she wasn't like hanging about with Alex Salmond, but it was like, I mean, he really taught her, not taken away from any of her achievements or anything like that, but know that her shrewdness, and her efficiency with the way that she deals with the media is definitely, yes. She definitely learned so much from him that it's it was a takedown, they were trying to take him down.
Right. It looks that way. I was listening to IndyCar. I was listening to IndyCar, and IndyCar was talking about they're right now basically trying to track this trail of dark money that came from the US to help with Brexit and everything. Yeah. So I mean, and it's all speculation at this point. I mean,
and he said
they don't
that
have
too.
all the connections in place, but a lot of the connections are in place where they just don't know how certain things went.
Yeah.
But it looks as though some of this money was coming in that was helping that some of that money may have dropped in to help fund the whole thing with Alex Salmond. If those connections all get made, I mean, that's going to be a very embarrassing day for the UK, especially for Westminster.
I mean, he called out the BBC, and loads of times he called them out. I mean,
he's going to be
times where
invincible now after beating all these charges. Yeah.
Well, dude. I mean, I'm really pleased. I actually really thought they're going to find him guilty. Not that I thought he was guilty, but I thought they were going to do I didn't have an awful lot. I was really, really worried about it because I thought, he would just be the kind of person that they would want to take down. They can't get Nicola, so, and I don't want to sound all conspiracy theory thing, but they can't get Nicola.
So, I mean, this is a lot of foreboding. This is like foretelling for Westminster because, okay, you didn't like Alex Salmond as much as you don't like Nicola. You tried to assassinate his character and throw him in a hole.
Yeah, they hated him more, actually.
Came through. Now, I mean, if you had any thoughts of trying that with Nicola, now they're sitting there going, well, Alex ended up beating us in the end. I mean, this is going to be interesting because after Corona, we're going to see what Alex has. And that is going to be very interesting to see, what he's going to be able to prove.
Yeah.
And so I look forward to that.
Well, some of the accusers, obviously, their names are kept private, and I suppose they maybe end up coming out now, the names and stuff like that. But we were getting snippets of, different stuff that was going on, and apparently one of the women that had accused him, it was because she'd actually wanted a higher job, and he never gave her it, and it's like sour grapes,
Okay.
And there was like evidence that, different certain things, that there was collusion between the witnesses trying to get their stories right and trying to pick up, that, this was suspicious. And, so it's not just like he's been able to, wave his magic Alex Salmond wand and, walk out. It's the fact that they said it was going to be one of the biggest trials. It was going to be lasting a month or so. It lasted a week.
Right.
The closing statements were yesterday, and the, deliberation took no time at all.
Right.
No time at all. So they knew there was no evidence.
Yeah, it just goes to show there was no case. There was no case, and the prosecutor and the, what do you call him, the crown prosecutor or whatever they're called anyway, and they knew it. They were just King Kratz in it.
Yeah,
they were totally King Kratz in it.
And they had the media there helping them.
Yeah, see,
putting pictures of him upside killers.
This is taking me off on a tangent real quick, but that's all right. Just like we ended up with a slimy crown prosecutor here who was willing to bring a case he knew was not very good, right? Yeah. I think the same thing could have happened in Wisconsin, and that could be why they picked King Kratz in Calumet County. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because they just picked the county that was closest that had the slimiest prosecutor, and so anyway, just a little parallel. I figured, anyways.
But I think one of the good things, and one of the things that I'm very proud of, is that the judge was apparently very fair. The justice, the judge, was a very fair one, which is, that makes a difference whether they're fair or not. Whether they say, "Oh, I failed to see the relevance of that," big sign, someone else killed her, I failed to see the relevance in that.
Right.
It's like, oh dear.
Right.
So it's like, it makes a world of difference whether you've got a good judge. I don't always know whether it's, because you could have the best lawyer, but if the judge is rubbish, then, or not rubbish, biased, or leaning towards the state in your case,
Right. Absolutely. So I mean, yeah. So obviously, for those who don't live in Scotland and everything, Sharon, explain to everybody about Alex Salmond, who he is, why he is so important to a lot of people in Scotland.
Well, Alex Salmond was the former First Minister before Nicola Sturgeon, which you'll have heard me talking a lot about, and you'll have heard Eric Clinton talking a lot about. And he was the one that was able to bring the party from having 2 seats in Westminster to having, I believe it was 36 seats. So under his leadership, of the leader of the party actually at that time before he was the First Minister. He was that popular with the voting public that they actually went from 2 seats in Westminster. I mean, look how many they've got now. They've got quite a lot now.
Right.
But I mean, at that time they had 2. So with him coming in and the things he was putting forward,
right.
He was very, very popular with
The
a
SNP
lot of the people. Yeah. So he put them on the map. But I mean, he'd been SNP for since he came out of uni. That was his path. He was right
William
in there.
Williams is the King of Scotland.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, loads of us were really gutted when he stepped down. But we were kind of divided about that. But we could see that he's a kind of he was very into his history. He actually used to be one of the oil, businessmen for the oil funds and stuff like that. Not oil funds, but the oil companies and stuff like that. So he knew all about business, finance, all that sort of stuff. His passion was history. So for him to fall on his sword after we lost the independence referendum, it didn't surprise me that that was the path that he decided to take. But I mean, he really, the way that he mentored Nicola Sturgeon is just, that's why he's saying the King of Scotland, because he really, the SNP wouldn't be what it is without him.
Right.
He was, obviously there was people before, like when it first was a party, when it first started, but they were very much kind of, yeah. But they were a wee bit kind of tartany bagpipesy Edinburgh for my line back then. Whereas Alex Salmond came on, and he was the leader, and he was saying the party needs to go this way. We need to do this. We need to make these choices. We need to get the people. He could see years before the Labour voters were dropping away down, and he knew that they needed a party that was going to be able to deliver for the people and listen to them. So he really knows the long game, so he knew strategically he could say, this is where we need to be, this is what we need to do, this is what we need to do. And he actually, Labour had set up the Scottish Parliament so that no one party could have a majority, right?
Right.
But
that's your first past the post and all that.
All that kind of stuff, yeah.
Right.
But actually,
I haven't covered that yet, folks. But
yeah, well, actually,
I intend to when I finally get a better understanding of it. But anyway.
Well, actually, Alex Salmond, for some reason, even though that was the way that it was meant to be, got a majority, and that was when he was First Minister. Right. So I mean, he's pretty one of these people that kind of seems to move a mountain. It's like you say to move a pebble, but he ends up moving a mountain. And you didn't realise that he didn't realise you needed the mountain moved. But he knew the mountain had to go, if that makes sense. So he could see the big picture years ahead. And he would always know what Westminster were going to do. He would always know their next move, be in there first. Right. So you think Ian Blackford and all that, you think that's where, he's, very much influenced as well. Inspired. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, definitely.
So obviously he is a big reason why in 2014, right?
Yep, the independence referendum. Yep.
And I mean, you in Scotland, you guys basically kind of refer to him as the father of independence, right? I mean, he's like, I don't know, maybe overstating it a little bit, but
well, we kind of jest, we sort of say that, we know that, some people say that he's like the daddy and like Nicola's the mum, and it's like we'll just say it in a kind of jesty way,
Sure.
It's like we know that without him, we wouldn't be in the position we are just now. So.
I mean, if it was him that got the SNP from 2 to 33, is what you said?
36, I think it was 36, I think it was.
I mean, getting just that alone, I mean, obviously he's putting the SNP on the map there. I mean, he's, that's huge. And obviously Nicola was just bang on to replace him.
And then after that, she got 56, remember? But that was just after the independence referendum. So, I mean, you look at it, think of you're not even talking about 15 years before there was only 2. Do you know what I mean? And then it's 56.
Yeah.
So you're not talking about like 30 years of a jump.
Right. I mean,
it's a big jump.
yeah, and it's another side of it for me. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
I sit here and listen to Westminster politicians and even that idiot Jackson Carlaw over in the Scottish Parliament. And I listen to them talk about how SNP doesn't have a mandate or any kind of majority, or it's like, what are you talking about? I mean, previous to 5 years ago, they only had 2 seats. They're now commanding a great many of the seats that are available in Scotland. How is that not how is that not sending a message? I don't know. Westminster politicians and that guy Jackson Carlaw,
chase yourself.
They make my head hurt.
We would say, "We chase yourself." Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God.
But Alex Salmond's a sense of humor. He's a great sense of humor, and to the people that know him, he's a warm person, and he sings and all that as well. He's like he's funny. But the sense of humor that he's got is, you'll probably laugh at this, but they had a helicopter for getting back and forth and stuff like that, and he called it Saltire 1.
Yeah.
Air Force One, he called it Saltire 1.
Saltire 1, okay.
Just for like a joke, because it was like the helicopter, so.
Sure, yeah. That's funny. See, I'm going to have to work on it. I don't have a Saltire tie yet. I'm going to have to work on it.
Yeah.
To work on that one.
It'd be nice if you get one when you come to Scotland.
When I'm in Scotland? What? Yeah. After Corona? And I'm going to have to order it before then.
Yeah, oh well, I suppose that's true. Your neck will be cold without the.
Don't know how much money I'll be saving during Corona. So I mean, we'll have to see how that goes too.
Exactly.
Well, fortunately, I'm essential and I'm actually still able to work. So anyway.
Yeah. When people need their internet, they do.
That's what I've been.
At least they think they do.
That's
Get the radio out, Like
the last 5 or 6 places I've been, that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
So it's funny. A lot of people were upgrading their speed. It was, interesting. So
because slow internet's going to they're going to be more of a victim to Corona. It's like this fast internet's going to save them.
Well, because now you're going to have all 4 or 5 people in the house. At home all the time.
You're going to need it.
So it's going to bottleneck so now they've gotten more speed. So now everybody can stream something and everybody's not going to be having glitches, right?
Yeah. Or fights.
Right. So, yeah. Let's see.
So I've not really explained how wonderful Alex Salmond is. I think it's like I need longer than just like a wee video,
Well,
because you go way back to years ago, he was a rebel in Westminster. Because he was a Westminster politician.
Okay.
He was one of the ones that was down there. So he knew the game. It's like Nicola, I'm not being funny about her, but she's a Scottish Parliament politician, if you know what I mean. Right. She's like the First Minister. But she's not actually been down there and done the Westminster politics, which is it's such a different game. Not that it's a game, but you know what I mean. It's a different,
right,
yeah,
total different,
yeah.
Thing,
so when he was up in Scotland and when he was First Minister, he knew the way that they were playing games down there. Because he'd been in, in the pit, let's say.
Right.
So he was, he knew. So that's how he's taught Nicola all the,
sure.
Don't trust them. Don't trust them.
It's not hard to see Westminster's pattern. I mean, Westminster is really rather simple and basic in its idiocy.
Well, it's more obvious now, though, with, internet and things like that. I'm able to share things to you, but, even talking a way back, 30-odd years ago, people weren't seeing things like that so much, and it was like, one of the things I remember saying to you, a week at the beginning, was that I love the fact that the disrespect's so visible now, because they've been disrespectful from behind the scenes for years, and you can see it. It wouldn't have been something I could have shared to you 30 years ago. You would only have been about
trouble convincing me about the Macron report and all the devolved parliament stuff, and
if you hadn't seen it yourself,
legislation that robbed you guys of your devolved parliament. I mean, in 79, you would have had a difficult time showing me that.
Well, I'd have been 4. I'd only been 4, and you'd have been what?
Well, I know, but
2. I can't know.
It would have been hard for anybody to do that in 1979, because in 1979, right, like you say, the Freedom of Information Act didn't get the Macron report available until 2002, was it?
Exactly.
I think so. Yeah.
But I mean, I grew up with people telling me these stories of all these things my whole life. I've been hearing not in a chip in my shoulder or chip in their shoulder kind of way, but don't forget that this is how things used to be. So it's like, our family were quite, vocal that way. We would talk a lot about things. I mean, I know it's hard to believe because I'm so quiet, so it's like, but we would always talk about, stuff.
Oh, there we go. All right, so he's obviously, so that's actually interesting. Obviously, that knowing that he, some of his history there and how he kind of brought the SNP to prominence. Yeah. And obviously Nicola learned a lot from him, and I say Nicola, I would say Nicola is another one, classy. I mean, we saw, I mean, you only have to look at the way that people look at SNP politicians. So we both saw the tweet that somebody from England made talking about watching Nicola on TV addressing the people, and was talking about how I see a leader giving clear, concise answers and addressing the questions that the people are asking, and and being very upfront about it and whatever. And like, and like, I wish that was my leader, or basically that type of thing, right? I mean, she has a poise. She has she cares. She actually does care about people, which helps. She's pretty amazing, and that's what we see. From SNP politicians here. They tried to tar and feather Alex Salmond, but it didn't work. Ultimately, in the end, he came out, and it didn't work. So, I mean, for me, the Scots got to understand, I hope, at least, during this time of Corona, that you guys are going to be really analyzing your relationship with Westminster. Analyze it. Look at it. And see what Westminster, how they've been dealing with you for the last 50 years. Go back a bit. Check out some of the, videos on my channel to give yourself an idea of where you might want to start, what subject, and go, start there. And, I mean, it always starts somewhere. That's how I started. I didn't know crap about Scotland, really, 5 or 6 months, or the UK. Yeah, I did some. I watch Doctor Who. I watch a lot of British television, and I know a lot about, the history of Scotland and the UK, but I know nothing about what it's like there on the ground right now and how the people, think and whatever. I mean, I know nothing about it. So that's what I'm having to learn. And that's what you guys need to do too. You need to go and you need to look into this stuff, because I'm looking into it and I'm just going, look, I only see Scotland coming up on the losing end time and time again. And they're handing you a shit sundae and telling you it's pumpkin pie. It's not pumpkin pie.
Yeah.
So hopefully, I mean, it's all done cleverly. It's all, and obviously I understand there's a lot of loyalty out there with particularly, veterans of the armed forces. I get it. Totally get that. But really look at it, because I think Scotland needs to break away, and I think you veterans of the armed forces are going to be very much needed to help Scotland build its armed forces in a rather quick way when the break happens, because Scotland and Westminster, even though I know all the people aren't really on board with this yet, but the fact of the matter is Scotland's moving one way and England and the rest of the UK are moving in another direction. It's just an empirical fact. I mean, think of it what you like. Yell at me all you want about pointing it out, but the fact is that's what's happening. So,
it's true.
I mean, So that's where we're at with this. And look, I can only encourage people not just think about this issue of Scottish independence. Obviously, they're in Scotland, but there's going to be a lot of issues that you're going to have time to look into. You might even choose criminal justice, because I got a whole channel that I built up before I started this one, talking about criminal justice. So you guys might take an interest in that, because obviously this thing with Alex Salmond again goes into criminal justice. I'm rather furious that the Crown prosecutor prosecuted these cases. That all this hoopla was put into them. It was going to be a month-long case, blah, 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 and it ends up lasting a week, and he's acquitted of all charges.
Yeah.
It shows how weak the case was to begin with. It shows that something it shows something dishonest was going on. Something dishonest was happening for that to have gotten as far as it did. So it's going to be interesting to see.
Something was pushing it.
Well,
something outside forces were pushing it.
Under the table, behind the scenes, wherever it is, there's something going on that wasn't out in the open.
Yeah.
And
I think questions need to be answered now. I think they are going to be looking into why would they bring such a flimsy case forward. I think they're saying that, why,
That's precisely why the Supreme Court here in the United States has said that the prosecutor in a case is like the gatekeeper of the justice system, because it's up to them to decide whether or whether not to prosecute. So they have a bit of a responsibility. Turns out that kind of in recent years, our prosecutors are really not taking that very seriously, but it seems like we may see the same thing here in the UK, because this Crown prosecutor clearly did a king crap. So,
and like that, the media helped,
Yeah, they needed to vilify Alex Salmond, right?
Yeah,
Lots of people were helping do this.
Not just they've been vilifying him for years. The media have always hated him.
So
they've always had something against them.
People, but a whole bunch of people were jumping on the bandwagon, right? So, because people always want to ask, "Oh, how do all those people, law enforcement officers in Avery, blah, 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 whatever?" It's like they didn't have to know, they didn't have to care. It didn't matter, because all compasses point north when it comes to law enforcement. And in this situation, with what was going on with Alex Salmond, the people that had something against him, I'm going to imagine were mostly anti-independence people, had an agenda. And so that connects people.
Well, see, the people that were
tried to vilify Stephen Avery, just like they tried to vilify him. So
the thing is, though, that what I always find was, that occurred to me today, I thought, it must take an awful lot for them to be able to acquit someone in this sort of Me Too culture that's about just now, that the way that you hardly need any evidence for people to go, you done that, in the way that people, and I think it was like 8 women and 5 men in the jury. I think it was like more women. So I mean, not that means anything specifically, but you would think that that they would think, that after like the Harvey Weinstein and all that, you would think,
that if there was anything to the claims, those 8 women were probably not letting it go. Certainly. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Especially Scottish women. So I mean, it's like, that's what I was thinking.
I think William's feeling a little left out here. Let's see what he's talking about here. He said Motive Scotland knows we're called the 45%. Let's see there. So, no, but what I was going to say was it's for me that's the other side of this too, is that these charges being brought, these accusations being made, and then these charges being brought against Alex Salmond, to have it all ended up the way it has. I want to first start off by saying I do not resent the hashtag #MeToo movement in any way. No. I actually think it's great that women who feel powerless have something that gives them confidence and gets them to speak out when actual, bad things are happening to them and stuff and whatever. So that it's
Give
there
them
to
a
give
voice.
women the confidence
Yep.
and a voice. Yeah, to help women do that. I mean, so because obviously, you know, culture is what it is, and obviously, you know, equity is a difficult thing. We'll just say that sometimes it can be, anyways. And sometimes people act badly, men and women, but you know, people act badly. So my point is that when we see a case like this where this type of tactic has been used to try and tar and feather this man, it really hurts the feminine, you know, or the feminist, or the hashtag Me Too movement. It hurts it.
The female movement.
Yeah, it hurts it when things like this happen. And so I urge, you know, women out there to really think about that. When you're going to conjure this type of thing, make sure you're being truthful, and make sure you're not using it because your feelings are hurt. Make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons. Because obviously this was nothing. There was 9 different women, 14 different charges, and obviously nothing came of it because they obviously could not prove anything. This is hurtful. I don't want it to hurt the hashtag Me Too movement, but things like this, when they happen, do hurt it. And so I think, you know, I just would ask that community out there to be mindful of that, and keep your eye out for situations like this when they happen, so that you can help us call awareness to it, so that we can help keep everybody honest. That's really, for me, that's the biggest thing social media does, is it allows me, others, Sharon, various other YouTubers to get out there and talk about things and show things so that we can help keep people honest, right? That's a big part of it. So, let's see. What else was there to talk about? Oh, yes.
Remember, have you got it? I was trying to send it to you.
So we were the other interesting side of this, in looking at what happened to Alex Salmond, is to ask who was doing this to him. Okay. And right now in Westminster and in the rest of the UK, when Scots are getting upset about this and saying this was Westminster's doing, the answer is coming back saying that it was the Scottish Parliament's doing. Okay. Now that I've said that, folks, I just want to remind everybody here, I did a video just a little while back called "What is the Scottish Office?" I advise everybody to go and take a look at that video when you're done here. We're going to talk a little bit about this right now. So when you see this screenshot or meme that I'm about to show you, it's not a meme necessarily, it's just an informational picture.
Picture.
Yeah. And when you see this right now, I want you, and I'm going to tell you what the Scottish Office is, in, you know, where the term they use is actually, this person is the leader of the Scottish Office, essentially. I'll point that out to you. Go back and watch the video about the Scottish Office so that you can get a deeper understanding of what it is and just exactly how closely it is an arm of Westminster. So, all right. We're going to do a little screen share here. Let's make that bigger. There we go. Okay, so right here, folks. So the answer is, you know, some Scots are getting kind of riled up at the fact of what happened to Alex Salmond. And so it's the answer's been coming back. Well, Alex Salmond won his case against the Scottish government, as the British keep telling us, right? The accusations and eventual charges were brought about by Scotland's permanent secretary. Guess what that is, folks? That's the head of the Scottish Office in Westminster. Had nothing to do with the Scottish Parliament. Zero. In fact, go watch my other videos about the Scottish Office, and I'll show you the type of things that the Scottish Office tweets about, and you will be absolutely, without a doubt, sure the SNP is not in control of it. So that's I encourage you to go check out that video about the Scottish office, seriously, because that is what she is. She is the head of this Scottish office thing, which is an arm of Westminster. So the position of permanent secretary to Scotland is a British position. As I said, go watch the video about the Scottish office. Leslie Evans was hired by and is only answerable to the British Parliament. In other words, Westminster. Mm-hmm. So that's another form of dishonesty. Okay. There's obviously going to be some shady dealings that Alex Salmond is going to be shedding some light on. Not right away. Obviously, he wants the world to deal with Corona, and he knows he has his priorities in order. But someday, he's going to start coming forward with some things, and he's going to start trying to make his case, and it's going to get interesting. But it's important to know that this permanent secretary, this permanent secretary to Scotland, it's all in Westminster. It's the Scottish office. It's on Twitter as UK Gov Scotland. Okay, and if you go check out my video about the Scottish office, you'll be able to see in greater detail what it is and how it is clearly not connected to the SNP or the Scottish Parliament in any way. So,
and that video is good. It's nice and clear. You've got good graphics on it, so people can see really well, like tweets and stuff like that. It's a good video, that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's to me it's so obvious, but I'm an outsider looking in. I'm completely unbiased. I mean, I love the Scots.
Perfect position.
I love the the English too. I mean, for Christ's sakes, what's this channel called? This channel is called Irikoze on Doctor Who.
Exactly.
Right? so I mean, I love them all, but I'm really more unbiased. I mean, I know when I first started out, I was like trying to tell you, whoa, let's not go jumping off a cliff here. Hold on a second.
Cool it, yeah.
But
now you're like, go away, quick jump.
Yeah. But as I've been looking into it, I can't see a state. I can't see a case for the union. I can't. I don't.
It's not like
nobody
you've
has yet to.
You've asked
me why
people to come forward and give you good, valid reasons.
Or did I lose it myself? Hold on. Say something.
Hello.
There we go. It was me. I accidentally hit my volume on my headphones. Woo! All right. No, but yeah. So it's that's how I came in, and I guess for me, my opinion started to turn when you and I were watching the election.
Yeah.
And we were covering that. Because I was just like, well, we'll see what the people think. We'll see what the people think. And after watching that election, I had two clear things that I knew the people thought.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, the people in England really, really wanted to get Brexit done. They were just wanting to get it done. Right? That's absolutely. I will not take that away from anybody. That is absolutely what wanted to happen in England. Okay. However, I also recognize that up in Scotland, the Scottish people voted in a huge majority of SNP because they're not happy with what's going on in the UK nor in Westminster, and they don't want to be removed from the European Union. Most of them don't want to be removed from the European Union. So as I watched that election unfold, and I clearly saw those two things happen in front of my eyes, the votes coming in, and then the next 2 to 3 days after that, watching Westminster talk about how its mandate was a mandate, but that Scotland's mandate wasn't a mandate. That's when Westminster lost me.
Yeah.
That was it. I was done. I'm out. Nope. You guys are lying sacks of shit, and you can go fuck yourselves, because that was bull. I mean, I'm completely unbiased looking at this thing going, no, this election said two freaking things. Two things, not one, two. So anyways, yeah.
Yeah. So that's the thing. I don't need to tell you. I don't need to try and convince you anything. I just give you the facts and say, look at this. And it's like, I don't need to go on a big tangent and say, you need to believe this and you need to believe that, and they've done this and they've done that. I don't even need. I've never had to do that in the whole time that you've been learning this. I've never had to try and force an opinion on you in some way. I've just said, look at this. Can you believe it?
It's just the way I am. My sensibilities the way they are. It's the same way I went through Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey. I mean, I didn't just watch a documentary and just start screaming from the rooftops, let them free, let them free. It didn't happen like that.
No.
Well, it happened fairly quickly for Brendan, I'll say.
It
happened pretty darn quickly for Brendan.
Yeah.
No, but with Stephen Avery, it took me about 8 months, folks, before I was willing to say with confidence that I thought he was innocent and had been framed.
Yeah.
Took me about 8 months to get to that point. I thought there was
probably was about the same.
I thought there was fishy crap with it. I thought there was all kinds of things wrong with it, but wasn't sure that Stephen hadn't actually done it until 8 months later. So that will tell you how scrupulous I am.
Yeah. See, that was the same with me, though, because everyone was like, oh, they're both innocent. And it's like, at first I was just like, oh, I can't just go away ahead and say that just because I've watched Meeting a Murderer. You know what I mean? It's like I never just take something at face value. It's like I always like to look into more and, you know, all that sort of thing. So it's like, it's, you know, whereas Brendan, it was like, you know, there's no way.
Well, you watch that confession, and since that's the only evidence against him.
I know, exactly. There's no way. There's no way.
Right.
Whereas, you know, everything was coming out about Stephen, and we were all like thinking, well, we would hope they wouldn't have been, you know. So.
Yeah. Oh, Kayak says, to be honest, I think everyone here and abroad was so sick of hearing about Brexit that people would have done everything to see it. Yeah, to see the back of it. Right. And I think there may be something to that. That's certainly true. But like I said, no matter what, there was two things said in that election. There was two things, not one. And it was like in the days that followed that election, when I saw how one side was getting acknowledged and the other one was being, you know, represented as nothing, I was like, nope. I'm out.
And also, just as well I wasn't on live with you that night, we would have been like, what?
Well, it took them the next day or two before they started talking about how it wasn't a mandate. You know, we had to actually wait till the next day to get to where they started saying that, right? So it was just like, I was just shaking my head, just going, oh, these guys are idiots. Wow. But they know they can get away with it, so that's why they're doing it. Exactly. You know, or at least they think they can get away with it. Maybe, hopefully, you know, Scotland's going to call their, you know, BS at some point here, I would hope. So it's just becoming more obvious, though. You know, it's like everything's just, there's no subtlety to their, you know, to the way they disrespect Scotland. They're not subtle about it anymore. You know, it's like cards on the table. You know what I mean? Cards, no cards. Yeah, cards. We're playing cards, Bobby. Cards are what you play cards with.
Yeah, I was going to say actually that is it looking at Nicola Sturgeon and Westminster that's made you realise, you know, how amazing Scots are as at watching still game.
Well, you know, Scots have their issues just like anybody else.
Yes, but and we're the first to admit it.
I do like the SNP. I mean, I do like the politicians there. I just they seem to be a pretty classy bunch. They seem to really give a crap about the people of Scotland. And you know, whereas Westminster seems to be perfectly honest, folks, Westminster seems to be worrying about keeping the rich rich. Yes. That seems to be their main goal.
That is.
And it seems to be their only goal, to be perfectly honest. So, but in Scotland, I see a whole different complexion. I mean, these politicians in the Scottish Parliament, well, save it for a few. Certainly not talking about Jackson Carlaw, but a lot of the MSP members, that would be, you know, the Scottish Parliament, members of the Scottish Parliament, they care about the people in Scotland. They really care about the people. It's about the people for them, and not about the banks or the whatever. They're not. I'm sure there is some of that. Obviously, you can't help it in politics.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I mean, the fact that S&P is continuing to build more, under that leadership, they're building more wind generators, and they're continuing to pull more from their natural resources and become more profitable. These are all things that they've been doing to set Scotland up.
Absolutely.
So that Scotland doesn't have to fail.
Mm-hmm.
So that Scotland doesn't have to fail when Scotland wants to go on its own. I think a lot of people are afraid Scotland will fail if it went on its own. I don't think so. I don't think Scotland has much to worry about, unless I guess it all hangs on the argument over the oil with Westminster. But I think even without the oil, I think Scotland's still moving in a direction where they're not going to need oil because of their renewables.
Yes.
So it's
absolutely right. They're trying to make it that that's a moot point, that it's like, the oil will just be the oil. It wouldn't be something that they're, relying on the same way, because I always say that, it's like people say, well, what happens when the oil runs out? And I say, well, actually, what plans have Westminster got in place just now for when the oil runs out? I mean, I want to know that. What are they doing right now?
Right.
You know what I mean? For the whole of the UK, what have they got in place? What renewables are they doing? What, why is it just Scotland?
Right. So there you go. What I was talking about earlier, folks, about some English people looking to Nicola for updates about the coronavirus. Obviously, Boris has now gotten his butt in gear today. And
yes,
whereas he's been all, I don't know. Today he's coming down like, it's like, good, Boris. Excellent, buddy. You're a genius. But hey, at least he's finally doing what he should have been doing. But Anyway.
Well, I'm not a fan of him, but I was pleased, not necessarily that it was him saying it, but I was glad that the words came out, because those words had to be said to the rest of the UK. The warnings had to be given, because obviously in Scotland we've been getting that advice for days. Nicola's been saying for days, don't go out, don't do this, don't do that. Whereas up until the other day, Boris was saying it's okay to go to the park, it's okay to do this,
right.
And not being too firm about closing things, and and I mean, I'm not being all hating on Boris just now, because it's like, obviously this is a horrible thing going on with the corona and all that, but I just think that Scotland, the way the numbers are as well, I think it's like we're sort of 7 days behind them in the way that it's spreading, because like we've only, and I say only, but we've got 14, up until the last time I looked, 14 people died of the corona.
Right.
And I'm trying to remember how many. We're also doing more testing than the rest of the UK and Scotland, doing more testing as well.
Right.
And I think in England it's it was a good bit more deaths they've had. Obviously we're only like 8% of the population, so we're going to have, but I just mean in terms of there was such a big jump down in the rest of the UK, and we were just like one person dying, and then there was like a good number of days in between, and then there would be another person.
Right.
So it wasn't like it's there. It was like 20 people going in one day,
right,
sort of thing, But I mean, they're all crowding on trains and going to parks and going to pubs and ignoring the advice, and it's like, so that's why Boris needed to say that.
Train. Yeah. I was actually supposed to start going on the train again this week to work, and didn't do it specifically because I was like, nope, not right now. I won't. I'm not getting on the train with a bunch of people, and who knows who's been sitting there and touching whatever that I'm going to end up sitting on and touching, and you know what I mean? It was just like no, that's just a recipe for disaster right there.
I mean, Nicola's away out and she's talking to she's doing kids programs and stuff. Now that internet thing, Young Scott, the internet channel, she was taking questions from the kids as well about the corona, and she had an expert on with her. So I mean, it's like she's trying to reach out to everyone. She's trying to make sure the kids understand that this is terrifying. She's trying to make sure that the elderly people or the vulnerable people are getting, all these letters we're supposed to be getting, all these
Right.
letters to say what we're supposed to do and all that sort of thing, So, I mean, she's doing an amazing job, and I'm just glad that they're working together on this issue about the COVID-19. At least Westminster are listening. But they've not listened as quickly as I would have liked them to have been a bit more firmer a good few days ago about people staying in and stuff like that and not being.
Right. I'm glad here in California and LA that our kids didn't even come back to school last Monday. Monday. Okay. They were home all weekend and didn't come back to school on Monday. And all last week we didn't have schools.
Yeah.
And everything. So we had a spike today. We had a spike last night and today.
Right.
But for me, that's a residual from the virus was still spreading very, 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 well, we didn't have anything going on about a week ago yet. It was still, we were on that weekend, but we still weren't doing a lot of social distancing yet. So if we had a spike in cases today, that's going to be people that got sick about roughly 5 to 7 days ago. So if we're going to see that, if we're going to see it go down or curb or whatever, it's probably going to be over the next week. But then again, we'll have to see how it goes. But I'm just glad we did that, because that means now we didn't have the kids spreading it around at school.
No.
And which is, I think, a big way it usually will get, spread around and get to a lot of different families,
But Nicola was quite concerned though about the fact that a lot of the nurses have got kids, mothers and fathers, nurses, doctors and all that. So she was concerned about the kids being off. Where do the kids normally go when the parents are at work, the grandparents? So you're taking the people that are exposed the most, the kids, and making them go with the people that are the vulnerable ones.
The most vulnerable, right?
Yeah, so I think that was where she was getting advice to not, they were trying to hold off as long as they could, because they were trying to make sure they had all things in place. I actually had it written down. Today it was 335 total deaths in the whole of the UK. 335 and 14 in Scotland up to today.
Right.
So I mean, we're 8% of the population. So if you even think 10% of that, it's not. It's nowhere near even 10%. So.
Right.
So I mean, we're just hopeful that the measures that we've been taking in Scotland, and Nicola had managed to secure ventilators and all that like last week, and Boris is still asking for them. He's still asking for people to come forward.
You can buy them from you guys still can buy them from the EU, because the EU was nice enough to continue to consider you guys a partner state.
Yep.
So they're going to let you guys buy ventilators from them. So I mean, that's good.
Yep. But I mean, she was right in there, and right away.
And I don't think they did it because they love Boris. Or Nigel.
Oh God, not him. So I mean, the numbers, if we can keep everyone in, obviously there's going to be people that are, that have got it now and have been about and all that. And I mean, I think just on Sunday there was Mother's Day. Do you have that in America?
Mother's Day?
Mother's Day. I didn't know if you maybe called it something different. It's like Mother's Day. Of course we have Mother's Day. No. Yeah. So like Mother and Sunday, we'll call it here as well. The amount of people that were
daughters or sons, but yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean mothering.
Mother and child?
No, mothering Sunday, not son, as in the day.
As in the day of the week, got it.
That was a good one. So the people were concerned because, I mean, a lot of people were still stupidly going to elderly parents with Mother's Day gifts, and thinking they would rather go than upset them by not getting a card and a present. It's like you'd rather take the risk, of them dying, to be blunt. You'd rather be potentially giving them something that's going to kill them rather than them being, upset that they didn't get a card or a present. you know.
Right.
So that's been. It's not like they could say postpone Mother's Day, you know. But
Right.
the fact that the fact that I mean the technology that we've got is like FaceTime and all these things. I mean, it's not like you couldn't, you know. And my friend actually had a picture of her daughter waving through the window
Mm-hmm.
for Mother's Day to her
Right.
sister,
Right.
actually,
Right.
because they lost. Her sister is like a mother to the wee girl as well, so she wanted to give her like a card and stuff, and they've left it at the door and stuff, and would wave through the window. So a lot of people are, you know, sticking to the,
Right.
you know, avoiding people thing.
Social
You know,
distancing. Right.
yeah, I mean, you can still put it at the door and leave, you know. So,
Right.
but actually going in and or going
Yeah.
trying to go out with the person, it's not, you know,
Right.
it's not ideal.
So Kionic here says, I must admit, I'm worried that after the COVID-19 dies down, Scotland will take ages to get things back on track for Indie Ref 2. I see Bojo using the virus to try and hold Nicola off on independence.
Mm-hmm.
So two things I have to say about that. Boris isn't holding Nicola back on shit. Okay? Nicola is holding Nicola back.
Yes.
And that's the way of it. So let's just clear that one up right there. Number two, Number two, you gotta take a look at what the independence pages are planning, because, and I made the suggestion. I don't know if they listen to me or if they listen to somebody else who's done streamathons before, but perhaps me and many other people were suggesting to them to do an online events for independence during Corona, because that way you can't pass it around through virtual chat rooms. So they are doing that. They're gonna have online events, you know, like maybe potentially whole weekends or whatever, where there's going to be a live stream available to go and look and see and do whatever about independence. So there's going to be some of that going on. So I encourage you to look out for that stuff and go and support it and be part of it when it happens.
And maybe we'll do something.
What is this? I think the indipe. I don't know what. You know what Neil's talking about there? Do I need to be Scottish, or is it a typo?
It's probably a typo. and you know, you need to say again, Neil. I'm probably being stupid or something like that, and I probably know what it's meant to be, because I never read the comment above, so it's like
NDP. I don't know.
independent.
I think.
I know what it is. He pressed send by accident. He was in the middle of writing independence, probably. But that's probably what it is.
Spelling it. Oh, man.
Exactly.
I was like, oh,
that's what it is.
I was like, is this some kind of like IndyCar, Indy
You're
truck,
down with it, you know,
Indy Is some guy broadcasting from his bathroom now, or you know? Anyway.
Or is it, what was it you called that? A porta john?
Porta john?
Porta john? Yeah, we don't call it that. We call it a portaloo.
Well, that's another way to put it,
it's the
right?
same thing, but I thought it was funny when I saw you say that.
I say porta john.
We have porta john.
Yeah, we call them a few different things. We call it we'll straight up call it the shitter. You know, various things. But when I'm on Facebook, I don't say that. I say
no. You say keep that for YouTube.
Well, I think we've had a very interesting discussion here today about Alex Salmond. I think it's a damn shame that he had to deal with this for 2 years. The last 2 years, you know, that he's having to go through this.
And he just lost his father just before that as well. It was like he just lost his father.
It's just dirty cool. You know, some people decided they wanted to ruin his life. They wanted to try. And it's I hope the Scottish people realize it, see it, and don't tolerate it.
Yeah.
There's a reason why he was attacked, just like there was a reason for Willie McRae.
Yes.
And I encourage you guys to go look at my Willie McRae videos as well. There's a reason why these figures get targeted, because they're charismatic and people like them. Yeah. Okay. And then suddenly, and don't tell me that covert whatever stuff doesn't happen. Bull. I've done a video. I can show you the article where MPs from Westminster have admitted that yes, MI5 was used to spy on members of the other parts of the UK and the devolved parliaments. It's admitted. You can't deny it when it's been admitted. Okay, you can say you're not aware of it, that you hadn't seen that article, but you can't. Anyway.
Was it not that they said that they were allowed to spy on the devolved, but not the actual Westminster ones? Was it not something like that? That it was like it was okay to go and look at all of them, but not.
It was only the devolved parliaments and the other parts of the UK besides England. Absolutely, even Wales. Yeah. They were even watching that devolved parliament.
I just wanted to say that in case it maybe never.
So absolutely.
We've seen the video. I was going to say we've seen the video. You made the video, but I mean. Right.
And then when you look at all the circumstances around Willie McRae's death, folks, there's no way. They say it's a suicide. It's no freaking way a suicide. There's no way in hell it was a suicide. It's impossible. And for many reasons, it's impossible. And the Crown, again, we have another King Kratz when it comes to Willie McRae. Because he misrepresents things. He doesn't even know where the gun was found. I mean, this investigation was so crap. I mean, it's like Manitowoc moved to Scotland in 1979 because it's like a piss poor investigation. All the things that we complain about in Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey's cases. Same thing with Willie McRae. Piss poor investigation. Piss poor pretty much anything. From
the gun's like the key. It's like there was all those people there. And they never saw the gun. And then all of a sudden, there's a gun, Yeah. And it was like, he shot himself,
It's first, they can't decide if it was found 60 feet away. Obviously, the Crown prosecutor realized that was a problem for his case if it was found 60 feet away. So he claimed, those are lies, that the gun was always laying right underneath the driver's door. And then they cut to a guy who was there that day. He goes, well, I was actually helping the police officer and them get Willie out of the car, out of the driver's side door, and the driver's and the police officer, his hat fell into the grass there. Bent down to pick it up. He's like, I didn't see a gun there, and it's like, so just trust me when I say, folks, there's all kinds of fishy with what happened with Willie McRae. So whenever Westminster or whoever doesn't like somebody coming up over in the SNP who's actually charismatic and actually is able to win people's hearts and minds, and they immediately think of how they can sabotage the person.
Yeah. And
they talk about how that's all the SNP does in Westminster is sabotage and create havoc and they're blah, 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 blah. It's exactly what Westminster's doing, but at least the SNP is in Westminster doing it out in the open on the House of Commons floor like they're supposed to, not using MI5 to do it behind closed doors the way Westminster does. So these are the things you need to look at, folks, because I know sometimes our loyalties make us want to overlook the faults of some things. So, and I know some of you out there are pro-union. And I get it. I understand that. But really look at it. Really look at the deal you're getting being a part of the UK, because it's not good. And I think you guys could do a lot better on your own, personally.
Do you know, actually, one thing I was going to say, we were talking about Jackson Carlo. I always say Karloff as if he's like the... as if like the...
I'm going to see if I can pull up an image that I think is funny about that guy. Go ahead.
He's actually been quite supportive of Nicola. And the measures that she's been putting forward. So, I mean, it's making us all go, here, wait a minute.
For Corona?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's been supportive of her with the measures because he's been on a board with her years ago, and he knows that she knows her stuff when it comes to how to deal with these viral things.
Okay, fair enough. Oh, that's interesting.
So they're putting political differences aside.
I didn't think he could think outside of party lines, but that's
what I would have thought. But then I think they're quite happy to just jump on the Alex Salmond, Jackson Carlo. It's like I know,
right? But,
but as I always think, because I always say it like Boris Karloff, like.
William's telling me to watch my blood pressure.
Yeah, Dr. Pepper saying.
I get fired up, man.
You do.
Folks, I do not like to see dishonesty and injustice. It just rubs me wrong. I don't dig it. So I'm eager to call it out when I see it, because more people need to be calling it out when they see it. I mean, this is something we all need to be doing, because we need to, all over the world, we need to start holding our leaders to account. I actually feel like Scotland's in a pretty fortunate position right now, because they got a bunch of politicians there that have been kind of hemmed in by trying to please people and also trying to work within the confines of Westminster. And they are in a position where they have just been so uniquely focused on the people of Scotland for such a long time. They're actually good politicians. And I think if Scotland is able to break away, you are sitting pretty well with a bunch of, politicians that are, really mindful of the people. And if you guys continue to, if you guys get out there and vote, and I mean, get everybody out
properly,
and hold your politicians to account, you guys could probably have something close to utopia.
See, the thing with Scotland is that they can't get away with doing a lot of crazy stuff.
Not
the way
it is,
can't, because the Scots are like, they'll just call them right out right away, and it's like, it's like, I just wish that the people down, that Westminster's representing the rest of the UK, I just wish they were shouting and asking for holding the politicians accountable.
Right.
If Scotland can be represented the way we are, they deserve it too. I've always said that. It's like, it's the people, they're just not asking for it. They're just not, they're just a different.
That's why I say people
just
all
a different,
But
whereas in Scotland, it's like, no, you're. I don't mean it's like you're working for me kind of attitude, but it's like the politicians know, that they are doing what we are wanting them to do. They're not just away in a mission and a power trip,
Right. Yeah, it's it's sticky. So
something else came into my head there when you were saying about the gun with Willie McRae, just quickly. We don't have guns every day in front of us in Scotland,
right?
And it's like, not that I'm not getting into a gun conversation, but I'm just meaning that it's not, we don't see the police walking about with guns, we don't see people walking about with guns, and if I saw a gun, I'd probably be like a bit, taken aback and a bit maybe, scared, and maybe not scared, but it would unnerve me, I think. So if somebody, is saying they didn't see a gun, you would notice a gun. If it's something you don't see, you would, that guy said he never saw a gun in the burn when the hat went down the burn.
Right.
So if there was a gun there, I would notice it, because it would be something out of the normal things that I would see every day. Sure. That's what I was trying to say. It wasn't coming. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning, so it's not coming out, right?
But, absolutely. You guys aren't used to seeing them. Yeah. So seeing one would kind of stick out in your memory.
Like a sore thumb, yes.
Right,
it would,
right.
That's what I was trying to say. Apologies, it wasn't coming out right.
No worries.
I knew what I wanted to say. I was like, damn, get out. So it would be something that would stick out,
Yeah, it's like I said, and I mean the Crown prosecutor just, constantly, the whatever's become more fanciful and blah 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 blah. It's like, no, dude, no. The situation that easily fits the facts here is you guys were trying to steal the paperwork he had that was gonna be a trouble in Westminster, and so you stole it from him. And you couldn't get it at his house. You couldn't get it at his vacation house. So you eventually had to kill him and take it out of his briefcase, didn't you? Yeah.
No. He shot himself in the head, while he was driving, and
and left a pile of papers just neatly
it was so lovely.
Over outside of his car after he'd shot himself.
Yeah.
So it's just ridiculous. You only have to look at what the Crown prosecutor is trying to tell you isn't fanciful and ridiculous, and you can. Yeah. Congrats.
See, it's all a web. It's all a web of tangled web of you know, people and behaviours, and you know that it's like you can, you know, it's I always find that interesting. You know, it's like it can be a different case, it can be a different situation, it can be a different country, you know, but people act, you know, a certain way, you know.
Right. So, all right. Well, it's 1:00 for you guys. So, it's been a very interesting talk. We've talked for an
Yeah, it's
hour
been
and
great.
15 minutes. So, it's been a lot of fun. So, thanks for
Yeah.
joining me.
Oh, thanks for having me on. It's great. I love it. You know, I love it anyway. When you asked me, I was like, it doesn't matter. It's 11 o'clock. I'm like, I'm going on.
Yep. Right on. And for those of you who don't know, over on my other channel where we talk about, like I said, Stephen Avery, Brendan Dassey, making a murder and criminal justice issues and stuff, we got a thing coming up at the end of April called Mammothon, based on Making a Murderer, which is where the MAM and MAM comes from.
Yeah.
So it's called Mammothon, and Miss Sharon here is going to be a host during a segment of it.
Yeah.
And what we do is we do a 48-hour segment. It's going to be the weekend of the 25th and 26th of April. And we basically go where it's going to be 8 different hosts, of which Sharon is one of. And we're all going to do basically 2 to 3 hour segments where there's going to be a live stream available all weekend. And so those of you who are interested in criminal justice and stuff, then might like to come and check out Sharon as she becomes a host for the first time. Might want to come over and check it out. So it's over on my other channel. Just type in Eric Jose and you're going to get 2 that pop up. Eric Jose Doctor Who, Eric Jose Making a Murderer. Pick the Making a Murderer one, and there you go. So, all right. Anyways, okay. So thank you for being here. Goodbye, Sharon.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Goodbye, everybody out there in the chat. William and Neil and Kionic. Thank you guys for being here and chatting with us.
Yeah, it's been great, isn't it?
Yeah, it has been a lot of fun. So, all righty, folks. We'll see you. Oh, you know, if you haven't already, please hit subscribe.